Hey, this message is for Vedette and Aunt Teresa. I just wanted to make this video. It is currently 2:30 in the morning. I left you guys earlier and I wanted to leave you with ease and make this video to answer those two questions you guys had about earnest money, as well as what could happen with the appraisal. So to get started, let's go here. All right, so this is the section of the purchase contract that talks about earnest money. So the buyer shall make an earnest money deposit of $3,000, which is what we took today. And as you see under 12.1A, there are two options. The first option shows you shall make the deposit with the buyer's broker not later than 3 calendar days after the acceptance of this contract by both parties in writing. This contract was accepted on Sunday, the 10th, and I didn't want to select that option because that was too soon. Or you can select the second option, which is the one that initialed with the buyer's broker no later than 3 calendar days after the expiration of the agreement to remedy period, as set forth in paragraph 6.4, blah, 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 blah. So if you remember for that, we chose to follow their request of having a 7-day inspection period and a 2-day remedy. So that would be the 9th day, which would be the completion of the inspection period. And I can scroll up and show you really quick here. All right, so 6.4. Okay, so here, 7 calendar days after the exception of the contract. And then we had a 2-day remedy, as you see here. So let me go back to the earnest money section. So pulling up the calendar here, the contract was accepted here. We have until the 17th to complete the inspection, which we did. And then 2 days, which is the 19th, for the request remedy period to be complete. Everything is lined up according to the contract. And what it says here is 3 days after the expiration of the agreement to remedy period. So technically, 1, 2, 3, we could have waited until Friday to deposit and let them know that we made the deposit. The reason I chose the second option, and maybe I didn't make it clear, is I feel that there's more time, more room to allow the processes to take place, so that if there was a disagreement during the inspection period, meaning if you wanted her to fix something and she didn't want to, and we went back and forth and we didn't come to an agreement and they chose to terminate the contract, that could have been a potential reason for them to make an argument to hold the earnest money. So out of the two options, to reiterate, the second one was the one that we chose. We're still in compliance. We still technically have until Friday the 22nd to make the deposit, but I just went and took care of it today. So I want to scroll down a little more. Move this calendar out the way. Sorry about this. So 12.1B just talks about that I will let them know. And sorry. C talks about if I don't make the deposit, they can choose to terminate the contract. I will fill this in once it does show confirmed in the trust account. I made a mobile deposit. All right, so this is what would happen to the earnest money. This is what we talked about earlier today and previous days. If any written contingency is not satisfied or waived, we didn't have any contingencies. We weren't contingent upon I'm sorry, we were we didn't have any waivers. We didn't say that we would cover any particular amount above the appraisal price. We didn't make any special waivers. So this is going to naturally flow. If any contingency is not satisfied, or if the seller refuses or fails, if the seller fails or refuses to perform, or if the buyer terminated the contract, the earnest money is returned to the buyer. If the buyer fails or refuses to perform, the earnest money shall be delivered to the seller. Now, when they talk about performance, you're doing everything that you're supposed to do for that. We submit the application, we abided by the inspection period, we came to an agreement before the actual start date of the request to remedy period. So we're still in compliance and you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. The appraisal will take place, and once they let us know, I'll let you know. So you're performing, and at the same time, right now, currently, the seller's performing their duties as well. So everyone's in agreement, everybody's in compliance with the dates, everyone still plans for this to close on time based on the date of the beginning of the contract. Now let's look at the details. One sec here. If any event, all earnest money deposited hereunder is to be dispersed as follows. A, the transaction closes and the broker disperses the earnest monies deposited to the buyer or to the closing or escrow agent to be applied to the purchase price. So that's what we talked about earlier today. Assuming the transaction closes, they would take that $3,000 check that you provided and they would apply it towards your closing costs. Other scenarios, if we had a set of written instructions specifically how to disperse the money, we could have handled it within the, I think it's section 1.1 C, court order. If it went to court, they would abide based on what the orders were. D, unclaimed funds. If the earnest money deposited becomes unclaimed funds as defined in this, and after providing the notice, they would report it to unclaimed funds. All right, E, let me scroll down so you can see it. In the event of a dispute between the seller and the buyer, this is what you guys were worried about, regarding the disbursement of any earnest money deposited, the broker is required by Ohio law to maintain such funds in their trust account until the broker receives a written instructions from both parties, which we talked about, the waiver, saying to release the funds, or two, if there's a court order. If within 2 years from the date the earnest money was deposited in the broker's trust account, the parties have not provided the broker should sign a written notice. You get the point what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to have to try to read everything to you, but as you see, when you make the deposit, before you make the deposit, you make a selection on one date or the other date. based on what you entered in the contract before. And we chose the second option, the one that was later, and your funds are protected. Assuming in a hypothetical scenario, say the appraisal doesn't come back, we would, in that situation, request for them to lower the price. If they said no and there's some disagreement for any reason, all we'd have to do is request the seller to sign the release of funds. And if not, we would have the funds sit in the account. If there had to be courts involved for whatever reason, like we could handle that through the right channels. But I don't see that being a problem, considering during this whole process, they were cooperative, we were cooperative, we responded to each other very quickly, and they're positive, and they're thinking that this transaction will go through successfully. So that's what I wanted to say about Earnest Money. And I also wanted to touch briefly on appraisal. Give me one sec here. I have a window open here. Well, not here. One second. While we wait, an appraisal, technically the definition is an opinion of value on a specific day. An opinion of value on a specific day performed by an expert to represent the lender's interest. The lender will only give you funds regardless of what you're pre-qualified for. They're only going to give you what they consider the home is worth. Now, what I have here are the steps, what I go through when I generate a CMA. Vedette, you know about that. On Teresa, the CMA is what real estate agents use to give an opinion of value on what a property is worth. And we assess that based on homes that are similar, for example, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, et cetera, that have sold in the previous year. These CMAs are run usually within like a half a mile, and you attempt to match properties as close to the property you're looking at, so you can get a better understanding of what homes have sold for and what this home could be worth. Now, the thing that's tricky about Kellner, this is really a unique home. It's a 3-story home. That's how it's listed. 3 stories split by level. There is 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. It has a basement, and you saw all the details they provided for the upgrades that they made. So what I'm supposed to do with this when I'm running my CMA is I'm supposed to find other homes based on those criteria that we just read: 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, similar close to square footage, and around the same area of this home. The problem, and Fannie Mae referenced this as well, like it looks somewhat promising that it will be very close if it doesn't meet the appraisal. The home is really unique. When I attempted to run a CMA, I'm supposed to go through and select properties, and I don't know if you can see. I'll try to slow down. The center section here, bedrooms, baths. If you go down the list with me, I have not yet seen one comparable property with that particular search criteria. And I had to extend it to 3/4 of a mile of the radius. I have not found one property on the list in that center section that has 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Not one. And as you can see on the left, the prices vary. So what I did, I tried to go through and I tried to start checking some. And I'm going to run the report while I'm making this video. But the reason why I wanted to show you this is because most properties have some sort of collective list of properties they can choose from. And it is somewhat comparable to what the appraisal will be. Again, from a real estate perspective, this is what real estate agents use previous sales in an area based on similar properties of a house. The appraisal, like they'll use this, but they also look at a few other things to make adjustments to their report, which could include upgrades and things that may not be necessarily included in this particular report, since it's just black and white with this one. So like when I generate this report, I'm not even halfway down the list. If you can see the bar here, and the properties I'm selecting, obviously, like I said, it doesn't have the bedroom and bathroom match. Some of the properties that are showing up, this one is 350 here, so I'll check that. But yeah, I'd say 99% of them are not exact matches what I would normally include in a CMA. Normally there's a long list of properties. If there's an excess amount of properties, meaning like, there's a whole lot of homes that show up on the list like this one, you would uncheck the first few and the last few to get a more average. But because one, like I said, there's so many properties. Two, they vary based on criteria. It's hard to get a true report on what this would be. So say I wanted to just continue with what I have here. I would just hit return listings to CMA, and that's exactly what it would do. I entered some criteria here, and as you can see, there's different prices. So this might be a little higher because I didn't go all the way down the list. Again, not even all these properties have the criteria exactly matching 584 South Counter. But I'm going to show you how it looks when I get to the report. So let me go to the next step here. So you do see values here. Low 310, high 583, recommended 365. Again, this can't be considered accurate just because, or completely accurate, because there are so few properties that match that criteria. Whatever this would generate is not including the finished basement that they have in this property. And again, the appraisal specialist is going to look at even more details than what we will look at in this report here. Vedette has seen this report before. All it would do is it would generate a long list, shows you a map of all of the homes compared to the subject property, which is represented by this pin. And then like it just goes into detail in this report. So I just wanted to show you to this video what to expect and answer the question about the earnest money. One final time to repeat, earnest money, like you're protected as best as we could. The only other thing we could have done really going forward, if you don't like the idea of the earnest money being applied to your closing cost, is if we made offers without earnest money. And I can't say for sure if it would or would not be considered. But in this saturated market, the listing agents are sort of teaching the clients to expect good offers to have earnest money. They present it as a way of potential risk, and they say that offers are more serious if they have an earnest money deposit. We don't have to have a earnest money deposit with any offers we submit. But if you do and it goes through, that's just more money that would go towards your closing costs, unless we wrote something different in the exceptions box on the beginning of the contract. Let me know if you have any questions. I just wanted to make this, and I'll try to send it out. And for that, I'll put it on the shared document. All right, so let me end this video and just call me, text me if you have any questions.